Welcome to the Fellowship of the Ultrarun. It is more than just a podcast. It's a community, a tribe, a shared journey. We unite under the banner of endurance, passion, and the unwavering spirit of pushing beyond our limits. I'm your host, Martin Moshonsky, and I'm ready to take you on an adventure. Are you? Let's go! And we're in the game!
Great.
Okay, welcome back in another episode of the podcast of the Fellowship of the Ultrarun. Today we have another guest, Tibor. How are you doing, Tibor, today?
I'm doing very good, and you?
I'm perfect, thank you. So today's episode is going to be about Tibor's running journey and also about his recent adventure and journey in Berlin Marathon. We will divide this podcast in several parts. So we will start with the beginning, so the brief introduction with Tibor and his beginnings with the marathon. Then the second part is going to be about the training and training adjustments and challenges. Third part is going to be about the Berlin Marathon, and then finally some reflection and the future plans. So, are you ready, Tibor?
Let's do it.
Okay, so it's 1 week after the marathon. How do you feel? Did you recover?
No, I didn't. Just before this recording, I was running, and I could still feel it. I could still feel it in my legs. They have very strange feelings here and there. It's not perfect.
Yeah, like normally it's like 1 to 4 weeks of recovery after the marathon. So it's not a surprise. Actually, I was running yesterday. I did 29 kilometers back on trails and like with 1,000 meters elevation gain. And today I'm very sore actually. So
okay.
Even me as an ultra runner, I'm kind of sore still after the marathon. So yeah, not surprising.
Well, yeah, I did something similar. So 6K on a flat course, and I didn't feel very good. It's great that I will have a 10K in 1 week, which I'm still thinking about. Yeah,
very very smart.
yes.
Probably hitting the PR there. It's not going to happen. But maybe, you never know.
Never know. Maybe you have a good day. You never know.
Yeah. So, okay, to start off, could you give our listeners a brief introduction about yourself, Tibor? So, also, when did you start with running, and what was the initial motivation for it?
Yeah, so I'm 29 years old, currently living and working in Germany as a PhD student. And maybe my sporting background is that since I was 10 years old, I played football, soccer, football, and so I was always active, but I didn't really do competitive running. That came later, maybe 2 years ago, where it really started. When I stopped with football, and for a couple of years I just kept running because it was something that I enjoyed, maybe 3 times a week. But no structure, just based on a feeling, and just to have a good time. But then, of course, after a while, you want to try something more more structured, more competitive, even. And that's why. There was a couple of 10Ks that I did, but those were just not very, again, without any structured training. And it was last year that I really said, okay, let's do it, and wanted to do this marathon in Magdeburg in Germany.
Yeah, I remember actually those moments when you started with the running, and I remember I was telling you like I'm sure you will eventually run the marathon, and you've been like nah, like that's not really my goal or anything, and like here we are. Like last year you already did the first marathon, and this year the second one. And
Yeah.
now I predict that you will also do ultra eventually. Little
I don't think so. I
yes,
don't think so.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you started basically 2 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and can you recall the moment you decided to actually run your first marathon, and you also reach out for the coaching, so you reach out to me?
Hmm.
What was going through your mind back then? Like, why did you decide it for that?
Well, it was just this accumulation of the fact that I enjoyed running. I was doing it well pretty regularly a lot, and it just made sense um, to take it to another level. And I just felt that there was a certain stagnation. There was no, I was going nowhere, more or less. So I wanted to push it a bit more. And yeah, what I've discovered since then really makes me satisfied with the way you kind of develop this different relationship to this hobby of yours if you do it on a more serious level.
Hmm. That's true. So let's talk about your first marathon experience. So it was last year, end of June, beginning of July, when you messaged me that you want to actually start the preparation for the Magdeburg Marathon, which
Mhm.
was in October. So it was basically like 4 months, three months, something like that for the preparation. Can you talk about the initial challenges you faced during the training and through the preparation for
Um,
the marathon?
yeah, of course, it was a little bit of the increase in volume, of course, to really be able to run more than 40 kilometers. So that was something that I need to work on. There was of course couple of injury niggles. I have I have Achilles tendon that tends to react quickly to increases in volume. So that was always something that was on my mind. But other than that, yeah, just based on the fact that it was something regular for me, it wasn't just maybe a shot in the dark that I just woke up one day and decided I wanted to run. It was pretty smooth. So there was a certain fitness background there.
Mhm.
Yeah, but just these minor injuries to get through, just controlled increase of the volume. I would say was the biggest challenge that yeah, a lot of runners also face, of course.
Okay. But I would say it wasn't that smooth, if I remember that correctly, because right in the second week after we did the 12-minute like max test, you were sick basically for the whole week. And then I remember also in the last several weeks before the marathon, you started kind of losing the motivation for the training.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I know that you had some work stress and these things, but still, you were losing the motivation. So it was also kind of a challenge for me, like to maintain the training and to make you believe that you need to continue and finish what you started.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah, that's true. It's something like, yeah. Sometimes it's like that. Yeah, you can get uh, these waves of motivation where you really have periods and weeks where everything's going relatively well and there's not a lot of stress, so you can focus on the training. And but then when it gets challenged, of course, it gets more serious, and that was the case towards the end of the training session. But I believe, yeah, we managed it well. Yeah, I think this was something we took care of in the end.
Yeah, let's talk about the marathon then. Like, I remember you had the goal to run sub 4 hours,
Yeah.
and then you finished your first marathon in Magdeburg, and you finished in 3 hours 43 minutes.
Hmm.
So, how did you feel like back then during the race, and then like after race with achieving your goal and like everything,
Hmm.
the whole preparation and everything around?
I know I felt very well prepared on the day, before starting the race. I think the goal that we've set was reasonable. It wasn't too ambitious for where I started at, and that's also why I believe also the way the training was structured was good and fitting. So I felt prepared going into it, and I believe throughout the race, there was never a moment where you really had to go for this heroic finish or something like that, where you really have to push through a lot of pain. Of course, a marathon is never easy. So of course, beyond those 35 kilometers, it gets tough. So I could feel I was fighting, feeling my legs. I was fighting, but it was always within this within my limits, basically. And yeah, of course, what helped a lot is that I think we put a lot of emphasis on. Yeah, since it was my first marathon, we put a lot of emphasis on the nutrition. So I even had my vest. I had all of the carbohydrates that I needed with me. I had a lot of water with me, as well, which I believe that it was a hot day. It's definitely sunny, and I tend to sweat a lot. So that was something we took care of very well. So in the end, there was no big crisis. It was just pretty smooth, the way it all went. And of course, the feeling. I remember this moment, just meeting you and in the finish line, and the only thing that you can think about at that moment, when you reach your goal and even go beyond, is that, yeah, just giving you a hug and just enjoying the moment. So that was a real emotional moment, and it was awesome that you ran it with me. So that was something that I found to be really special, and a nice bonding experience as well. So yeah, awesome memories.
Yeah, definitely. And also the Top Gun and the ice cream after the marathon was also part of the bonding and the
I,
special moments and memories. So for sure, totally.
yeah, that was
And
awesome.
you mentioned the nutrition, and I would say that truly was one of the big thing you needed to change, because like usually we would do like couple runs per year when you back in Slovakia, and I remember in the past like you would not have any gels or any water with you, and then like after 15-20 kilometers you would like
Yeah,
have a bit of a struggle. So I knew that that's what we need to change, because like you can't run the marathon just with like 1-2 gels or whatever. Like that's
yeah,
not
yeah.
a very smart approach. So I'm glad that you listened. And
Well, yeah, I wouldn't be here if I didn't didn't listen. Definitely not in the second marathon journey.
yeah, for sure. Okay, so you finished your first marathon. That was at the beginning of the October 2022,
Mhm.
and then we decided actually together that we will add our names to the lottery for the Berlin Marathon,
Yeah.
and we were chosen. And how that thing or that moment changed your motivation and goals for next season, for season
Oh,
2023?
that was massive. That was the fact that it's such a big marathon, and it was the second one. Yeah, and we knew we basically got picked, so there was a it was something unexpected. So that really was, yeah, straight away I knew yeah, let's do this properly. Let's prepare in a way that okay, we do not just want to finish within 4 hours. Let's try to set a little bit more ambitious goal and try to run yeah, on this very fast track to really achieve some good time for me. And yeah, so that was a huge motivation. The fact that it's a big occasion also also helped definitely in terms of the motivation.
Yeah, for sure. And like we knew about that like somewhere in the November, December, something like that, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then through the winter, you decided actually that you want to basically train like on your own and to
Mhm.
try the half marathon in April in Bratislava. So tell us about the preparation during the winter on your own, like what you were doing and
Yeah,
what was your goal for the half marathon?
yeah. So the goal, okay, the goal was to run 1 hour and 36 minutes. I don't even remember why 36 minutes. But this it was a very specific goal that I wanted to achieve as a build up to this marathon. I knew that basically I didn't want to go through this, I believe, tougher and longer preparation for a marathon already in spring. I knew that it will come later for Berlin, and yeah, also wanted to try it on my own. So that was also a motivation to try to structure it. Yeah, to start making these steps where you make the decisions yourselves,
Mm.
yourselves. What kind of workout you want to do? Are you prepared? Are you recovered enough? Um, Also, of course, keeping your discipline and motivation. That's of course another challenge as well. But what I was doing to prepare was yeah, basically a base building focus. Just um, it was a period of slower running, just building up the mileage, and I kept doing strength training throughout winter. Of course, um, in okay, maybe in a limited way, but regular, and I believe this was also something I could benefit on the day of the half marathon. So, and then it was the usual kind of your macro and micro structures. So maybe blocks of 4 weeks of building up the volume, then letting up a week, and then your typical weekly schedule of one faster session, one long run, and rest easy. And I believe I was training 5 days a week for this half marathon.
And what did you learn through the process?
Um, um, I believe that I was very satisfied with the way training went. I could keep up the discipline and everything. There were of course moments where I still was like, okay, should I run I don't know, a threshold session, or should I do VO2 max? I believe I maybe overdid it with the VO2 max sessions towards the end of the preparation as well. Um, yeah, so there was still this, of course. It's something that comes with the freedom of choosing everything yourselves and not delegating and maybe letting the mind rest. So yeah, decisions that had to be made,
Mm.
of course, bring their own challenges. But I believe the main learnings came on the day of the of the race. Yeah, maybe you remember.
Yeah,
Um,
before we will talk about the race, I would
yeah.
just quickly want to say here that that's actually my goal with anyone I coach, that I don't want to coach someone forever, like for real, I don't. I that's also why I also care about like the education. So I also want to tell you like why we're doing these things. So eventually in the future you will know what to do on your own. So I'm glad that you went through the preparation, on your own. You knew kind of like what to do. Of course, I'm sure you had some struggles or questions if this is the
Mhm.
right training at the right time, but I'm glad that you went through it, because that's really my goal, that eventually you will know what
Mhm.
to do with any preparation for any race. So yeah, and then the race day, it was April 2nd or something like that in
Yeah, I
2020.
believe so. Yeah.
And I came like for the 5 or 6 kilometers to like kind of like run that with you.
Yeah.
And I I could tell that you had a bit of a struggles, or I saw it on your face, so I was like, oh, probably something is not right. So tell us about the race.
Yeah, and I think this comes back to the point where a coach really can be beneficial, because I believe a lot of the trouble that I went through stemmed from the fact that I had a very strong last long run for the half marathon, almost matching my finishing time in the real race, because I really messed up the
And it was like
uh,
what, 1 or 2 weeks before the race?
yeah, it was like one. Yeah, it was like 2 weeks. I believe there was a. I'm not sure, but I believe there was a proper taper period as well. It wasn't too close to the race itself. So I
Yeah.
believe in that case it was everything was fine. But I just came in overconfident with little experience of what to expect. So this is where probably the word of a coach can be a real benefit, especially for those people who just didn't experience racing before. So
Mm,
yeah, the usual mistake that I just started way too fast. I was in this zone thinking, okay, if I just can hold to this group of around the pacer um, throughout the race, it would just get me through it. And I did really well. I did really well for like 10k
yeah,
or 15.
I believe that like the first 10K, that was actually like 1:30 half marathon finish time. If you would
Yes,
if you would continue, so
yeah, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared for. I mean, I never trained. I didn't definitely didn't train enough in this pace or anything. So that was just out of the blue. That I felt great on the day. It was overcast. It was pretty nice and cold, which I really enjoy.
yeah.
And I just wanted to push through it, and I felt confident. But then around, I don't know, it was like 2/3 in. Yeah, I really I hit the wall bad. And this was a half marathon, of course, so that probably should not happen at at this stage. So I was really burning through all that I got through this 10k, and then
Yeah.
yeah, so I just crashed, and then it was a struggle to the finish line. In the end, I somehow stayed within this. I reached my goal, but I was if I would have done it in a rational way, yeah, there were a lot of minutes that I could have had on the,
Yeah.
for a better
Yeah.
finish. Yeah.
Possibly, but like that comes with experiences for sure. But because basically this was your first half marathon like ever.
Yes, 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 yes. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, and I would say because you did basically you did the marathon first, so I wouldn't be surprised if your thoughts were like, I did the marathon, which is 2 times longer, like half marathon. That's nothing.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah,
But
and
that's the thing though. Like every race or every distance is a different beast because of the speed. So
yeah, and I
yeah,
and then I believe we'll come to it also. And yeah, and the race itself is a different beast than the training. And
yeah,
yeah, that's what
yeah.
I found out as well.
Yeah, because you can't copy the adrenaline of the race and everything you feel before and during the race. and
Yeah.
you can have it in your training. It's just not possible really to like recreate those
Yeah.
feelings and moments. That's why it's also like, that's why I would say it's clever to have like some B or C races during the season as a preparation,
Yeah.
because you can have those emotions there, but it is not that important for you. So you can actually learn and see what's happening, and then you can take those lessons and use them when it matters.
Yeah, yeah, I can only agree and wish that there was a 10K before that half marathon. Yeah,
For sure. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So after the half marathon, you decided to reach out once again. Why?
Um, I just thought, yeah, I just thought, okay, this is a big goal. I would really like to run Berlin properly, and I believe there was still a lot to learn. And The problem was also my schedule, because it was especially in the beginning part, there was a bit of traveling, yeah, a period of 3 weeks or something,
Yeah.
and I wasn't sure how to deal with that, like how to do these big macro blocks of the training, especially if then you travel for a period of it. So this was really the reason why I reached out, because I thought it's a very big goal, and I do not want to mess it up. And there's still a big potential to learn.
Yeah, for sure. So what did you expect like it's going to happen, or what was like, your expectations for the whole preparation like?
Yeah, I believe, yeah, this is, yeah, it almost comes down to the question with which we started talking about this. Like, what would my expectations be for this marathon if I really want to just go and hit a crazy PR and really push it. Also, maybe increase the risk of injuries as well. And
Yeah.
so that was not something that I wanted, and that's that we identified this, that it would be maybe much smarter to go, maybe to not go all out, or not go put all the eggs in the basket of the best PR on this marathon, and do a more reasonable, more gradual build up of the process. So my goals were really to, I kind of had these process goals, really thinking just about uh, my aerobic threshold, that I really wanted to improve it, just and reach new new records in terms of the volume that I was doing, because I knew that if I want to go faster, I'm still doing relatively low volumes, and uh, there are big gains there for me. So kind of like these
Yeah.
two process goals, and if, okay, you cannot really control what happens on the race day, or very little.
Yeah, totally. And back like to that big question I ask you, like if this race it's the main motivation and you don't care about anything else in the future, or you actually care about the future. The
Mhm.
importance of the question is that you should know your plans, and not just for a couple months in the future, but really like long term. So
Yeah.
we knew that your goal is basically to run eventually sub 3 hour marathon in the
Hmm.
future, which means that it makes sense to now build really strong aerobic base and like really build the volume, the frequency, and also like
Hmm.
grow mentally for that. And
Yeah.
then you will be really able to run it next year, let's say.
Yeah.
On the other hand, though, we could do more VO2 max workouts
Hmm.
and really like push the limits. And maybe you would be able to went through without the injury, and maybe you would run even faster marathon,
Hmm.
but also maybe you would lose all the motivation for running and all the
Yeah.
joy from running, and you will be done with it. So
Yeah.
so really, in the end, you need to decide what you want, not just for next month or for the next year. You should really know what you want in 3-5 years within the running and your and the overall endurance journey. So that's why we decided for this approach.
Yeah, I
And
believe it was the right choice.
yeah, and what was your initial goal for Berlin Marathon?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we were talking about 3 hours 20 minutes,
Mm.
and but yeah, but then I believe we adjusted it to 3:15. I don't really remember. Do you remember the reason for this?
I do. I don't remember. I don't remember the specific moment, but
Yeah,
I remember the reason because we started in April 24th, so we had basically 5 months for the Berlin
yeah,
Marathon and for the preparation. We knew that after 5 weeks, you had those travel plans to South America and then to Slovenia and Italy. So
yeah,
we knew that or I was like, let's start with building the frequency and the volume. So we started basically with 6 days of training in the week, and you had 1 day off. And the goal was really to build the frequency because before you were running only like 4 or 5 times,
yeah.
and we knew that we needed to increase the volume for the faster marathon.
Mhm.
And we did the aerobic threshold, so the first threshold test, basically in the first week.
Ah, okay, right. I remember.
Yeah, and the goal was to find out where the threshold is because we knew we need to really push down the first threshold because the 350 or 320 back then it was like 4:45, 4:50
Hmm.
average pace
Yeah,
per kilometer, and we knew that your first threshold was like 5:05, 5:10 maybe back then. So we knew that's still like a big difference. So we needed to push down the first threshold. The next 4 weeks, we basically were focusing mostly on that, and
yeah,
I started to see that you are actually able to push down that pretty quickly. And like after a couple of weeks, you were already around like 5 minutes and
yeah.
it's still like sub 150 beats per minute. So I knew that like let's be more confident and let's run 3:15. Like why not?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's always nice to have like the bigger goal and something what maybe brings some fear as well.
yeah,
So I was like, let's do that. And then you traveled. So it was basically the 4 weeks of traveling for you. First 2 weeks, I believe, were in South America, so in Argentina and Brazil.
yeah. Correct.
Yeah. What what was your feelings during or after the first couple of weeks of the training and then during your travels?
Mm, yeah, this was for me a very important trip and also a highlight. So I believe that I didn't focus that much, and I did let my training slip a bit. I believe I do have a couple of unfinished training sessions, especially those strength training
Yeah,
sessions. So
yeah.
I kind of went with the approach that I want the path of least resistance. Of course, I didn't stop running. There was also a couple of faster sessions that I did on this.
Mhm,
But yeah, I didn't want to spend too much time on the during the holiday working. So it was okay. I felt you mentioned the build up period before,
mhm.
focusing on the aerobic threshold. There, I felt great, and once you see those that progress come in, you feel awesome. But I didn't feel too bad about letting up a bit because it was just something that I enjoy, and I believe that's of course for us amateur runners, that's something that yeah, really is about finding the balance between your outside or your normal life and this very nice hobby of running. So that was it. So at that point, the focus went a little bit away from the training,
Mhm.
but not in a way that we would go completely to ground zero. So there was still
Mm.
regular sessions inside, and that's also. I know that you were really on top of this, trying to make sure that okay, if we lose some fitness or some progress in this period, that it's not a complete waste of potential there.
Yeah, the reason was I wasn't like afraid of that you will like lose a lot of fitness or anything, because we knew that we even after the trip we would still have like 12 weeks of the preparation,
Yeah,
which is basically like enough for the specific preparation for the marathon. And also, like, as you did those first 5 weeks, I saw that the progress is there and you responding to the workout very well. Then the reason, or I knew as you will travel, you would not probably like train as much. So
yeah,
that's why we did basically very rapid, very fast 2-3 weeks VO2 max phase.
yeah.
And the reason was that like I knew like after that phase during the travel you can like train less, and actually we can see that as a recovery phase.
Hmm.
And also I knew that as we will go together to Slovenia and Dolomites, I knew that that's going to be a very, very good training stimuli, so very good muscular endurance stimuli. And after that, you will come to the preparation pretty strong. So let's talk about that trip. So it was
Yeah.
basically 7 days in Slovenia, in Bled, and we hiked the Triglav, which is the highest mountain in Slovenia, I believe.
Hmm.
And then we were in Dolomites for another like 6 days, 5 days, something like that. And
Yeah.
like every day we hiked like for hours and hours. And some of those hikes were pretty challenging as well. So
Yes. Yes.
yeah, so tell us your feelings during your initial trip in South America and then this trip as well.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah. I mean, the main thing was that I was kind of, as you described, you kind of already had this experience that such a training, just hiking, can be a good stimulus. I would have
Mm,
never thought I would, if I would have done it alone. I would be way more nervous about losing the fitness. Yeah, basically, because I knew that I would not be able to do any running next to the or during your hiking or during the hiking period.
mm,
But yeah, you were really. I think the experience that you had, it can be a very great just muscle endurance stimulus,
mm,
and yeah, and those were not easy hikes as well. So we were working pretty hard, but it was great that yeah, we kind of just hiked through it. Didn't really.
mm.
I believe there was one easy run that we did during this period, and that was it. But I never felt that I let my training go too much during this period. So um, that was great, and I believe we saw the benefits
Mhm.
as I came back and really back into your classic training, let's say.
Yeah, because like here's the thing with hiking. First of all, the main great thing about it is time on feet.
Hmm.
So it was basically like 6, 7, 8 hours
Yeah,
of hiking, and that's a lot. That's like 2.5 times more than running the marathon,
yeah,
like in the time. And also it's going up like for an hour, 2 hours, and then going down, which is
yeah,
a different stimuli, so more eccentric work. so good for your quads. So that's amazing for the muscular endurance. And we also knew that you needed some kind of a strength for your legs.
Yeah.
You didn't have it in the past, like basically any real strength training. Some of it you did through the winter, as you mentioned, but it was still only at home with some kettlebell or something like that. But this was really like a great stimuli, and as you mentioned, after you were back home, I remember you were messaging me that like you feel amazing with the
Yeah.
legs,
Yeah.
and, and now let's build the metabolic fitness and like the endurance and speed as well.
Yeah, I mean the legs felt awesome after in that period. Like you couldn't really touch them; you could just go on and do not have this feeling that you're overreaching. So that was based on that. Yeah, we could really push the volume, and the volume really rose from that point.
Yeah, for sure. After that trip, you also had like 1 week at the beach, so that was also a
Yeah, yeah,
nice, nice recovery, nice
yeah,
recovery
yeah,
for you. And then I knew that as you will be back, now we would have like 12 weeks, and we can start with the specific preparation, meaning running the marathon pace and also like improving or increasing your second threshold.
yeah.
So let's talk about those last 12 weeks of the preparation.
Hmm.
We knew that it was through the summer, so August
Yeah.
or like late July and August, and then early September.
Hmm.
And we slowly were increasing the volume and also the workouts, so were getting harder and harder.
Yeah.
How did you feel in that process?
Initially, very very well. Especially once you start seeing the benefits that your aerobic threshold just keeps dropping, and it really gives you a nice boost. So you're kind of on this positive wave. I believe we had a small injury niggle also during this period. It was just for a couple of days where I felt my Achilles
Mhm.
tendon again. But yeah, I believe that was managed very very quickly with a couple of rest days, and we could go right back in. The period, yeah, of course, it was summer. It was hot, but during this period, it was okay. It did get to 30 degrees and Celsius,
Mhm.
but I was usually kind of planning my training also right. I usually train during the evening, so it wasn't in the biggest heat. I also did my long runs in a park, trying to stay
Mhm.
away from the sun. So I didn't really feel bad about or didn't feel too restricted by these higher temperatures during this time. It
Mhm.
came later where I really did struggle with the sun. So overall, I think this was a very good period. Towards the end, again, you really, yeah, of course, you notice that the volume is big. You've been doing it for weeks now, and of course, motivation and I'm not sure, kind of general fatigue. Of course, it is there, and so you do not feel as fresh as on in the beginning, but especially having that one training for the marathon last year behind me, that really helped
Mhm.
also to notice that okay, I don't have to worry too much about that. But of course, it plays on your mind, I believe, a little bit, and did for me as well.
Yeah, and about the mind. So as we shifted that goal to 315,
Yeah.
how did you feel mentally like about that goal and like through the preparation? Because suddenly you were doing way much running, and the volume were higher, and also the intensity.
Hmm.
Like suddenly you were running the lactate threshold workout, and those long runs with the marathon pace. How did you feel mentally?
Not always the same way. So it was not constant. It was up and down, depending on those. If I recently got some gains and I saw immediate improvement, of course, then you're running high.
Yeah.
But when you struggle on a particular tough long run where you cannot keep or struggle to keep your marathon pace within your reasonable heart rates, of course, then it starts. Of course, those are the slight setbacks that really put doubt in your mind. So it wasn't constant. It was changing. It was changing all the time. I believe overall it was the positive feeling was more prevalent, and so yeah, I would somehow summarize it like this. But to be honest, I never really focused too much about thinking about 3:15. So it was more about trying to stay in the training and to see those improvements. So it was focused on, yeah, if I didn't see an improvement for a longer time, and that was maybe again still inexperience, I kind of got a little bit nervous. Okay, what's going on, and is it too
Yeah.
much? Am I overtraining, or what is going on? So yeah, kind of those mixture of thoughts.
And about these confidence changes, that's why I did or doing those self-reflection check-in questions every
Yeah,
Sunday, and I could see here and then after after a week of like maybe bit or not ideal running, you were like, no, I don't know,
yeah,
it really
yeah,
wasn't that good. And I told you, like, look, like not every week is going to be
yeah,
perfect. That's totally normal, and this should be hard, and it's okay that it's hard. And let's just continue, and another week or next week can be better. Let's learn
yeah,
from the mistakes maybe, and like that's it. Like no big emotions.
yeah. Oh, well, yeah, that's definitely something I can also work on as well, and that comes with experience. But especially you, I believe you. I mean, we were in frequent contact during this period. There was always a kind of feedback from my side. How did I feel for his training and everything? And of course, being friends, when I often responded with a joke or somehow an expressive statement about how well I feel, and that's really
Yeah,
where you can tell, because sometimes I didn't feel like it. It was like a two word answer.
yeah,
Yeah, and even me just trying to control that. I do not want to. I know this is hard and everything. I don't want to complain that I do not feel well, confident, and everything. So yeah, maybe that's also a sign where you see
yeah,
your
definitely,
uh,
definitely.
yeah. So that was but that was fun. I mean, once the emotions are in, it makes it all that more interesting.
Yeah, and like that's why it's important to measure not just the objective data like
Hmm.
HRV and all these things, but also like the subjective ones like your mood, your sleep quality, and all these things, because you can see the
Hmm.
signs of maybe you need extra recovery day or something. You can definitely see that. Maybe not you
Yeah,
because it's about you, but me as a coach, I can see that, like I can zoom out and see those things. So that's why we also are doing these like subjective
yeah,
self-reflection check-ins. So that's why is it important.
yeah. I definitely see the value. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, let's talk about just couple weeks before the Berlin Marathon. So how were you feeling? And
Hmm.
tell us about the last like hard long runs. How did you
Okay.
feel?
Um, well, it was a mixture as well. So my best long run, my longest long run, came on a cloudy day. I remember with relatively low temperatures and up to 15 degrees Celsius or so. which I just completely smashed, I believe. And if it was based just on that workout, and if it would have gone like that forever, I would feel way more confident, even just going below three
Mm-hmm.
hours 10 minutes or something like that. So that was a really a workout that just I just had a great day. And then
I believe that was like 4 weeks
yeah, that was
before.
4. Yeah, that was 4 weeks before. Yeah, and but then came a period of very high humidity here in Magdeburg and higher temperatures, and there I just struggled, always being
Mm-hmm.
soaking wet, freaking hot. Just couldn't sweat it out. So of course your HR goes out, and since that was kind of like one of the measures that I try to keep an eye on, you kind of get this feeling. Okay, I just got way worse, and so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Again, those feelings of am I making any progress here? But yeah, it's something to deal with. Then there was the trip to Slovakia,
Mm-hmm.
where I was going back home to my parents' house, and again a period of very 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 hot weather,
Mm-hmm.
and especially the fact that now I was in an area where I couldn't really stay away from the sun, so I was fully exposed during my long runs,
Yeah.
and I just cooked myself completely, and it was a very big learning curve for me to see how much of a difference that can make in terms of
Mm-hmm.
your performance. Um, but I think the struggles that we had before, and we could somehow manage a little bit better. So I was already prepared that okay, these long runs, they'll not reach the heights of the previous one, and so on. So yeah, there was a long run that I cut short because I was just running high with my heart rate, with the
Mm-hmm.
relative perceived efforts as well, um, and yeah, so yeah, my best longest long run came kind of 4 weeks in, and then we had a couple of ones that were kind of influenced by the weather, and then we had this last one that we did together, where you also joined. That was very nice. We also tried to think about the sun a bit here, making the last stages to be in a park in the shade,
Mm-hmm.
just to somehow control that. And that was really hard. And during my last long run, so the most important, if you will, before the marathon,
Mm-hmm.
it was struggle. It was hot again, and I didn't hit one marathon block. I was off by 5 or 10 seconds or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. But the fact that you were driving by in the later stages on your bike during those last really hard 1 kilometer repeats to really hit those legs, and that mental side as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really helped, and those were very hard, and those we could hit the paces, and so that was a very very good preparation for the marathon, as I found out later in Berlin.
Yeah, definitely. And that was the goal actually. So for our listeners, the last workout, it was 2 times 5 minutes. So it was warm up, then 2 times 5 minutes at the first threshold, I believe.
Hmm.
90 seconds like jog between, or 60. And then 3 times 30 minutes at the marathon pace with 3 minutes between.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, 3 minutes, and then 3 times 1 kilometer with like slightly faster than marathon pace,
Yeah.
and that was like the hard end. And I knew that those three times 1 kilometer at the end, that was really like the mental part of the workout, because
Hmm.
that's basically the same as the last several kilometers in any marathon.
Yeah.
You already had like 35-ish kilometers in your legs. It's already very hard, and
Yeah.
that's exactly where you need to push with your mind. So
Yeah.
as usual, it's not just about the physical aspect, but also about the mental one. And really, later in the race, it's more about the mental aspect than anything else. So that was the biggest reason behind these last kilometers in that workout. So that was 2 weeks before the marathon, and then we started with the taper. So we decreased the volume, but basically we maintained the frequency, we maintained some kind of intensity, we just decreased the volume, overall volume, and then volume of the intensity. How did you feel in those last 2 weeks?
I felt okay. I don't think there was an. I didn't feel particularly great, but I didn't feel bad. It was okay. I think kind of to what helped on the mental side as well was that that I already started to look beyond the marathon, trying to think about what will come afterwards, what I want to do in terms of maybe some other stuff, learning German or stuff like that. So I was always preparing a little bit for that. So I wasn't just fully focused on this one day. I wasn't watching I don't know, videos on YouTube of people running the Berlin Marathon and trying to prepare myself in the best
Really?
way.
I was actually doing it.
Yeah. I wasn't. For me, this time it was like I don't know. I was distracted with work, but I also found it to kind of keep myself maybe a little bit at ease with myself, at least for the period of the whole taper. There was a one fast session which was very good, very promising. That was a big confidence boost within that period as well. Yeah, so that was it. But already maybe starting to come back to that half marathon, I kind of tried to restrict going too confident to not make the same mistake that maybe holding a pace for 3 times 10 minutes or something can be nice, but one just cannot extend that to the marathon distance.
Yeah.
So.
And I told you, I remember that, like, let's hit 315. Let's not think about 310 or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's not be greedy or anything.
Greedy, yeah.
Nature, but let's hit 315. That's what
Yeah.
we trained for. Tell us the last day before the marathon. How did you feel, and how was your motivation for the race and emotions, and then how was the sleep?
Yeah, that's really what. So the whole taper was all right until Friday, and then you start to notice that something's happening. Of course, you go pick up your number. There, you already feel the energy of the people there. We meet. We met there. So that was
Saturday,
also
though. Saturday.
Saturday. Yeah, that was Saturday. Yeah, and then just thinking about your trying to get enough food in, enough carbs, and staying off your feet, just getting to a nice, good, relaxed mental state. But already, the even if you do not notice it or maybe do not focus on that feeling, but somehow the body notices that something's going on. And that something's coming, and but and then just go for an early sleep. I know that I usually, if I sleep in a very structured way, I can sleep pretty well and get those 8 hours of sleep and everything. But I know that I have to go to bed early, and this time it was even earlier than that. So I believe at 9 I was already sleeping. And I believe that saved me. That saved me because I woke up at 1 o'clock, 1:15 or 1:17, I believe it was. I can still remember my phone.
Uh-huh.
I was postponing. I didn't want to look at my phone. I just wanted to go back to sleep and everything. But
Yeah.
already at this point, I checked, and in the end, it was a mistake. I couldn't fall asleep from this point.
Okay.
So I was up from 1 a.m. basically, just tossing and turning around, listening to podcasts, and then researching if the lack of sleep on the day of the marathon can be detrimental to your performance. And I was
That's what
very
you
happy.
want.
Yeah, and I was very happy to find out that everybody was like, "No, that's not important. That's not important. It's the night before that that counts." And
Yeah.
so, I mean, even after the sleep, those information kind of helped calm me down.
Okay.
But it wasn't good. It wasn't great, of course.
So you basically had like 8 hours for the breakfast.
Yeah, I mean, I had to extend. I even extended my breakfast, so extra calories at, I don't know, 4 o'clock, extra bananas
Yeah.
to even get to my PBJ sandwich, which was my go-to meal before the race.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but at this point, you kind of try. I mean, there's no point in, yeah, just torturing yourself that you didn't sleep. It will
Mm.
probably, you'll feel it more. That everything will feel a lot harder probably, or at least that is something that I would expect. But at this point, I just try to put on some good music, motivational music, and
Mm.
to really just let those doubts get away and focus on the race. And I was, during the time of breakfast, I was ready. I was happy. I was buzzing, confident that yeah, even this night of sleep would not stay in the way between me and my goals. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Okay.
that was the mental aspect that was going on as well.
Yeah, like it's pretty common that the last night is pretty rough, and that's why basically the 2 days before, that's the most important night and the sleep, because you will create like the buffer.
Yeah, yes, very important.
Yeah, and then you can waste it in the last night and still be okay. Okay, so then you
Yeah,
went to the start area and start line before the start of the race, which was
yeah.
9:15. How did you feel a couple minutes before the start? What was your strategy for early pacing and also nutrition for the whole race?
Uh, yeah. So at this point, I was already mentally kind of checked into this goal that I just want to go 3:15, and I'll go the slowest 3:15 I can go, more or less, the most conservative
Hmm.
one. So I didn't want anything more. Um, so that was a good way to go about things, I believe.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then yeah, you kind of get buzzing. You get the adrenaline. You see a lot of people. Of course, we also had an organizationally kind of a few hiccups where we wanted to meet before the race, but we couldn't find each other. So
Yeah.
you're busy with that. So even so the workout, it was just, I would say, pretty also influenced a little bit by that. But I'm in the end, I'm pretty glad that I didn't invest too much energy in the
Hmm.
workout. And those first 2 miles really were, or first 2 kilometers were my workout, or the warm up, more or less.
Yeah.
So that was something we talked about also before that.
Yeah, I asked you like 1 week before the race, like what is your strategy? And you told me like you want to start basically right at the marathon pace,
Yeah,
right from the beginning. And I told you that maybe that's not the best approach or strategy. And I was like, let's start like the first 10 minutes like at the first threshold, the same as we did in
Yeah,
any long run basically.
yeah,
And then you can see like, okay, I'm feeling great, and now I can go and run the marathon pace. So let's talk about the whole race and
hmm
your experience,
yeah.
and about highs and lows, and how did you push through, and
Yeah,
also about the last couple of kilometers.
yeah. So we started below below the 3:15 pace for the first 2 kilometers. I really enjoyed that. I think it's a great way to get in. You don't really I believe you don't really even need a lot of warm up there. Just a quick warm up before, and then yeah, you're ready to go. And that was the case for me. That I got into it nice and slowly. I felt confident, and I felt like, okay, this speed, of course, is feels easy, but of course that's only the beginning. And if it would if it was not that easy at the beginning, I believe there'd be no chance of hitting the goal in the end. So this was this was something we discussed, and we I was prepared for, and I'm really glad that those first two ones were below that. And then slowly moving into it, building up, hitting that marathon pace for, but not always consistently. So it was still fluctuating a bit for me, but yeah, that wasn't really on my mind too much if I was 3 seconds above.
Mm.
Yeah, and the next one I was 2 seconds below, and yeah, but it wasn't a big deal. Just trying to get through the crowds, and yeah, so that was pretty a peaceful part of the marathon. It was, for the beginning, it was overcast, so no sun,
Mm.
pretty cold, which is the yeah, which I was really satisfied with, and just played into my game. And
Mhm.
but yeah, from that point, once you're in that speed, it was just thinking about every 20 minutes I want to take one gel.
Mhm.
And it was just I had waters, those flexible flasks
Mhm.
with me, just to stay away maybe from those chaotic first um, water breaks, and just to
Yeah.
be inside. I also had my electrolytes inside, so that
Mhm.
just sipping on those, making sure that I hit each gel within those 20 minutes, 20-minute periods, and just going through. And that was the game for up until the half marathon, I believe. But there were already moments that at 12 kilometers, I remember, okay, it's like, okay, we're just 12 kilometers in, and I can, okay, this I can already start to feel that the goal is somehow far away. So I was
Okay.
there was still this respect that I didn't feel 100%, or
So
I didn't feel as if I would had a good as if I had a good day, let's say, on that.
okay. So did you
So
feel like losing a confidence a bit?
um, maybe, but it wasn't massive.
Mm.
It was just staying with. I mean, there's not much more. You cannot really do much here. I knew that I wanted to stay somehow within more or less an equally distributed or an equal strategy. Didn't want to go too negative. Of course, didn't want to hit the wall and end up with
Mm.
too positive
Yeah.
split. So um, yeah,
And
so I
what
just
were
kept
you?
just
Yeah.
kept those paces. Yeah.
What were you thinking about in the first half, let's say?
Um,
Like any specific thoughts, or just running?
it was just running. I must say I didn't I I wasn't the one that enjoyed this marathon the most. I wasn't the one to enjoy the atmosphere the best, to
Okay.
really enjoy the. Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I mean, all those people cheering, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was great. But I wasn't into that. I was just into maybe just following runners that went a similar pace, focusing on dodging dodging the cups, and
Yeah.
yeah. So it was from a pretty early stage. I was already in this tunnel
So
vision.
a laser focus on the calves in front of you.
Yes, exactly. I was checking all those calves in front of me, noticing who has
Yeah.
a big ones and who has a small ones.
What did you find?
Yeah, there were a lot of big ones. Yeah, I was pretty
Yeah.
impressed. It was yeah, the competition was
Also jealous, maybe?
pretty big. No, I wasn't jealous. No,
No, no, no.
no,
Okay.
no. I was satisfied. I was satisfied with.
Okay, okay, okay. Cool.
Yeah. There was a period in the middle where I tried to somehow enjoy the crowd a bit more.
Okay.
So instead of focusing on those calves, I try to focus on the faces of people that I was passing.
Okay.
I think at somewhere at this point, you remember there were these pensioners in a balcony. I believe you even have it in
Yeah.
in
Yes.
your video.
Yes.
Uh,
They
that,
were
that,
great. They
that
were
was
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
That was just perfect, and
I
puts a
believe that
smile on
was
your face.
25th kilometer. I
Yes,
think.
it was somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Yes, but yeah. So what happened in the middle or during that going into the second half was that the
Hmm.
weather changed. So the sun got out, and you
Hmm.
could. Yeah, I noticed it a lot, and it was noticeable. There was a noticeable increase in temperature.
Yeah.
So I knew that this is something that I struggle with.
I
So
mean, it was basically just 1 2 degrees, but suddenly the direct sun instead of
yeah,
the cloud. So that was the big difference.
exactly. So I knew straight away that I need to be very diligent with the water intake that I have.
Hmm.
So from that point on, I believe I was I was close to running out of my water that I had with me. So
Hmm.
from that point, I just went every station. I'll stop for a drink and make sure that I that I drink it, because the first one, all the water just went into my face and
Yeah, that's
nothing
very,
inside. So
very
for,
classic.
yeah. So
I
from
mean,
that
I told you that it's okay to walk through the aid station and just to make sure that you're drinking, because that's the mistake many people are doing,
yeah
that they will just run through and basically with no water, they will
yeah
just throw that on the face or behind, and then they surprise later in the race why
yeah.
they dehydrated. So
Yeah, so that was my first stop, and from that point on, I always stopped, really drank the whole cup, then
yeah.
poured water onto me with the second cup, and really made sure that, yeah,
Mm.
that I try to cool myself as much as I can.
Yeah, I have the numbers here. So you did the half marathon in 1 hour, 38 minutes and 11 seconds.
Yeah,
So you
slightly below, right?
half
I,
marathon.
I pretty much knew that I was somewhere on the right track.
Yeah.
Maybe,
No,
uh,
that was 4:39. So you were basically 2 seconds
2 seconds
average
behind. Yeah,
behind
yeah,
behind the 3:15 pace, which is 4:37.
yeah, yeah. I mean, at this point, yeah, I didn't really analyze a lot of if I had
Mm.
have it in me to go further. I mean, there's not much choice that you have. Just follow the strategy, and yeah,
Mm.
and we'll see what comes next.
Yeah. So what about those last 15 kilometers?
Um, yeah, that
When
was the,
when did you start to feel like this is really hard and
yeah.
having a struggles?
Okay, so I went from maybe this is okay. This is difficult. Maybe somewhere around after that 25 mark already. There was like, I'm not sure when that was, but that was like a gradual hill that you went up.
Mhm.
That might have been around the 30K
I don't
mark.
know. I don't know about that. About any hill. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was a hill there, at least for me.
Yeah.
That,
I like for our listeners, me coming from ultrarunning, it was very flat. I don't know about any hills.
yeah. So yeah. So but in any case, it was somewhere around that 30K mark where
Okay.
it started to be hard.
Okay.
Uh, okay, but you can still go. I mean, yeah, this is something you train for, you push through, and still manageable, still maintaining your nutrition, the drinking, and everything.
Yeah.
But then from, I believe, 35,
Mhm.
somewhere around 35, then it got really really difficult, and you start to somehow be a little bit. Yeah, I'm not sure that this is a little bit beyond that point, but when I saw that stadium, do you remember seeing that stadium when you just went through and there was like a stadium in the distance?
No.
Okay, anyway, there was like this stadium in the distance, and I
Okay.
was thinking, are they crazy? I'm not going to go around that. I was not really thinking straight because there was no stadium that you go by on the course, and I knew the course,
Okay.
so that was already like getting a little bit.
So did you have hallucination?
No, there's a stadium that you could
No
see.
stadium there. Nothing.
There's a stadium like that crazy that's like 5 kilometers away. I'm
Yeah.
not going. I'm not going around
Sure.
that. Yeah, but then as you get to Potsdamer Platz, I believe that's like 2-3 kilometers before the end.
Yeah.
That was really where the hammer just hit me completely. So that was really the period where also you could see in the pictures I'm no longer looking anywhere else. I'm just looking under my feet. I'm completely soaked with the water. I'm actually very pale. I was very, yeah. So I'm not sure if that was
But from
really.
the numbers, you still maintain basically the pace, like 4:38. So you were right there, even in those last kilometers. And then the
Yeah.
last 2 kilometers were actually 4:35. So you even increased the speed a bit.
Yeah, but at this point it was a complete mental struggle. It was just
Yeah.
repeating this mantra that okay, you can do this. It's nothing. It's just 2 kilometers. It's you
Yeah.
can do this, and just repeating that all over again. Thinking about. I remember there were two kind of strategies, or maybe two points that were very important. One was going back to those 1K repeats
Yeah.
in that last. That was exactly my thought. This is exactly like
Yeah.
that, but worse. But
Nice.
but that, yeah, if you could do it there, yeah, you could do it here as well. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
let's just go with it. And then there was just thinking about people
Hmm.
that supported you.
Hmm.
So this was my girlfriend who managed to find those points where she could cheer me on maybe three times
Oh.
during during the race. So I remember, yeah,
Yeah.
she met me like 36 kilometers, and she knew
Yeah.
that I didn't look very well,
Yeah.
and yeah. So going back to that, thinking about yeah, my grandmother, she was always at those football matches supporting.
Yeah.
And then also going back to my coach, because I know that there's someone who really invested also his time, and it was a joint project, just us doing it together.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so that
That's
was
actually, that's actually the message from the Kipchoge as well. Like he
yeah
he he said that after the race or even before, that it's not just about him, and the running is not just about individual and about him, but it's also about the whole team, and basically the same thing as you saying here. So that's
yeah.
great.
And it really makes a difference, I believe, even in terms of your
Yeah.
performance, because it's just a difference between if you crack or if you do not,
Mm.
and that just makes a world of difference. And yeah, so that's something that got me through this, until this maybe 41k 1k to go.
Yeah.
And I was in a really bad situation at this point.
Yeah.
I just completely ignoring everything around me. I cannot really remember the last street that leads up to the
Yeah.
Brandenburg Gate. I cannot I cannot really remember. Just running through that.
Do you remember though the Brandenburg Gate?
Yeah,
Like,
that was okay, but there was no joy. I saw the pictures now.
yeah.
There was no joy in my face that I
Okay.
was that I was in the finish. I was
Okay.
just I was like, okay, oh my god, it's like 400 meters to go to the finish. It's like let's just push through, and yeah, all the grimaces, and my my back just it was very sore because I was like
Uh-huh.
hunched over, so my upper body position was all over the place.
Yeah.
My fingers, they were like crunched up, showing this 2 and 1 for like
For
six
Kipchoge.
kilometers. Yeah. So it was a
Cool.
really struggle.
Yeah.
Even the last the finish line as well.
Yeah.
But the moment that you cross the finish line, it's like you're in a different world,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
just all falls down from your shoulders, and yeah, and yeah, the photos, yeah, they really show that it was really at that point that I yeah was in the final stretch, and only at that point that I really did let up.
How did you feel? Like any specific emotions in
Uh,
the finish line?
I believe at first it was purely just I'm physically happy that this is over. That I remember that I felt my quad starting to pull somewhere between that Brandenburg gate and the finish line. So I was just happy that I was there. I didn't think about, okay, did I reach the goal? I didn't check the time. I just yeah, I just hunched over this fence that was there, and I was there for like 2 minutes just breathing
Mm.
completely at the end with my energy, and yeah,
Yeah.
so there was no feeling, just I'm happy that physically this is over. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was waiting for you in front of your drop back
Yeah.
station, and I was like, "Hey, Tibor, hey, how are you doing?" And you were like walking, like in a walking back, like a zombie, like half dying.
Yeah.
So probably it was a bit hard at the end for you.
Yes.
But that also means that you did your best. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that's what's the most important, I would say, because at the end you can be proud that you did your best, and that's what any race or any preparation is
Yeah.
about. And so you finished the Berlin Marathon in 3 hours, 15 minutes, and 55 seconds, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Missing your goal
Yeah.
just under a minute.
Yeah.
What can you share your initial feelings about the result and maybe the feelings now? Or is
Hmm.
it a positive or negative for you, and why?
Yeah. So actually, the I believe the feelings are very similar now as they were as the initial ones. So
Mm,
the initial ones were, I'm just happy that I knew that I gave all that I had on that particular
yeah.
point, and that kind of felt more significant than okay, hitting that headache goal.
Mm,
So I felt very good about it, and there was a period after where you start to think and analyze. Okay, was yeah, could it um, yeah, was there a way to make it better? Where did I didn't feel? So yeah, we were analyzing this. We're
mhm,
talking about this. So and at that point, I thought that for me, I didn't feel on the very top of my game on that scale of maybe the last weeks.
mm,
So just that not hitting that, just that I didn't have a good day, I believe, on the marathon, just caused
yeah.
the fact that on the race day, I believe, perfect. I was very happy with I was happy with the way the pace went. I was happy with the
Mm,
way the nutrition went. I was happy. I was prepared. I felt somehow prepared, um, just on this long term scale, that I had ran everything, all the miles, all the hard sessions, and so on. Just that you have this fluctuating, I don't know, maybe form or a feeling,
yeah.
and I just felt that I didn't hit it. The marathon didn't arrive at the point that I would be
Yeah.
on the high, but
Mm,
that's, yeah, that comes and goes. There's not much, I believe,
yeah.
control
That,
that you have there.
that's the thing, though. That like physically, you can be ready and you can have your peak for the race day, but we can see that again and again in the elites as well, that they just don't have the day, and definitely they did their training. Like in the end, like Kipchoge in Boston, he didn't
Yeah,
have his day. So that happens, and that comes with experiences as well. But still, you basically hit your goal. You also run like 500 meters more, I believe.
yeah, yeah,
Technically, we could say that it was right there.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and
yeah,
as you said, you did your best, and that's what matters, I would say.
yeah,
And yeah, so
yeah,
reflecting on that, yeah,
yeah. So that's and now it's kind of, it's the same, that I just feel that, yeah, this was mentally very hard in those last kilometers, and I could push through. It was nothing that I've experienced before in terms of running or just going against what your body is trying to tell to you. So that was a very very big confidence boost, also going
mm,
forward. So that's the main positive that I take. And now, when you just look through the photos, how incredible the day was. I mean, this is something that will stay in my memory for
yeah,
forever. So
totally.
so that is something that, yeah, I mean, it just grows. I believe the the enjoyment just grows. Just
Mm.
thinking back to that day.
Yeah, and reflecting on the whole experience,
Hmm.
like the whole preparation, whole 5 months, what have you learned about you and maybe about running, anything?
Um, yeah, so the whole preparation required a certain planning, let's say. So and also balancing a couple of things, a little bit of management. So um, that is something that I'm really glad that I got through with positive results in the end. That it somehow didn't interfere with my work, with other stuff too much. So yeah, so that's definitely one point. And then there's just this mental side that you can just push through, and but also you have these days when you feel not great, and it's not always good to be too reactive
Mm.
about it, and just have this long-term goal in place. And I believe the last thing is, again, maybe going back to the life experience, is that having these blocks of something you focus on
Mm-hmm.
intensely, where you just have a goal, you have a structured preparation to reach that goal, then you have a certain period of recovery. That is something that one can take also to other aspects
Mm-hmm.
of life, and it also builds up kind of that feeling when you hit the goal, when you're really put to the test, that you remember those days, and they're very very rich experiences that you can have.
Yeah, totally. And that's the beauty of running or like any training, basically, that you can take those lessons, the discipline, and all that in any area of life.
Yeah.
So now you mentioned you want to learn German or improve your German. You have now those skills from running and from this preparation, let's say, and you can improve it, and you can go through the harder times, even with the learning of German, and you
Yeah.
you have the confidence that you can do it.
Yeah, it just uh, builds up, and if you can keep the ball rolling, it's
Yeah,
great.
sure. So what would you do differently in training for future races? And what aspects of your training do you think need improvement? And how do you
Yeah,
plan to address them?
yeah, yeah. Okay, probably a little bit of strength training is an obvious area where
Mm,
I could improve. Although, yeah, I wouldn't put it too high in the priorities. Just again, as a supplement that can really help the overall running that you do, support the volume,
mm,
the speed, and everything. So that's one thing. What I've learned in this, yeah, just the importance of going very easy on your runs, even beyond your zone twos and everything. Sometimes just staying with a nice easy run, yeah, is something that I've tried to stick
mhm,
to. And I believe also it's a risk averse strategy that you not only do, I don't know, running at one pace all the time, but you also have a mixture. So even if you do not know your pace is completely great, there are periods when you hit it, there are periods, okay, when you do not. But just keeps you flexible and within always sometimes hitting your goal and being around that. So that's what I really liked, which I didn't do, and always tried to stay on my absolute aerobic limit, or in the zone two
mm,
area before. So that is something. And then, yeah, threshold exercise, threshold workouts were very nice, very specific, and just really this idea of having these large structures, large blocks of base building, strength, VO2 max, and then going really specific with your threshold towards the end threshold for marathon in this case.
yeah. One thing I would add is you definitely have room to grow for a VO2 max, because we didn't address that because we basically didn't have a time. We did just those 2-3 weeks before your travel,
Mm-hmm.
and then we started with the specific preparation. And like VO2 max is not that specific for marathon, so we didn't address that. But you can definitely do that now through the winter or in the spring. It would be maybe smart to maybe focus on some 10Ks, half
Yeah.
marathon, to really like increase the speed, gain the experiences, and then like next marathon somewhere in the future then can be way faster because
Mhm.
you will build the foundation and you will increase the ceiling, which is basically, or roof, which is basically VO2 max. So that's what you can really improve for
Yeah,
the
and of
future.
course, yeah. Sorry. So that, yeah, that's also very interesting because that's of course another whole another aspect of running, just going these shorter distances. Yeah, which sounds very tempting to me as well.
Yeah, for sure. But that doesn't mean that you will train less for them. That's the false thing.
I know.
That's not true. You basically need to still do a lot of volume. It's just
Yeah,
you focusing more or for a specific speed and the tempo and efforts. And you need to measure those things as well.
yeah,
And then you can be faster.
yeah.
Yeah. So okay, now you completed the Berlin Marathon with a solid time. So you missed the goal, but still 3:15:55, still 28 minutes PR
Yeah.
in just your second marathon and in just 1 year.
Yeah.
What are your future goals in running?
At the moment, uh, it's to continue, but somehow to I have this little period where I try to think what my next goal should be. So I was interested in these shorter distances, maybe in
Hmm.
the immediate future. Um, and of course, there was this goal that I'm still evaluating. Just getting maybe trying to hit that marathon below 3 hours at one point, and then maybe to qualify even beyond, maybe going even beyond that to qualify for
Hmm.
Boston or for other major marathons, because this experience has just been very nice. But of course, one has to make it fit with the life outside of running. So we'll see. We'll see how we can make this work.
So for now, no specific plans for the season 2024?
No, for now, no specific plans for the 2024. I mean, there are already some races that I would like to that I already have somehow
Hmm.
that I think about. So I'm not sure if maybe doing the something in Bratislava again, maybe going back to that half marathon, or maybe Vienna would be as well something
Okay.
that could be interesting that I'm thinking about, but it's too early. But maybe
Yeah.
for a half marathon, that could be interesting.
Okay, nice, cool. And I have a final question for you and also
Yes.
for our listeners.
Yeah.
So, what advice or insights would you offer to those who are inspired by your journey
Hmm.
and are considering running a marathon themselves?
Um, I would just point out the importance of structured training. Not only the importance, also the pleasure of it. And maybe not focusing too much on that one marathon goal, but as you're in the process, just enjoying and feeling those fitness gains, feeling better, achieving more and more every day. I think that is something that maybe can push you through and keep you happy when you're running. And yeah, so those process goals as you go through it really make it a wonderful journey, at least for me and maybe even for you.
Yeah, perfect.
Yes.
Okay, nice. That's a nice answer.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
glad you like it. Okay.
Yeah, I do. So thank you, Tibor, for your time. It was amazing. And it was also an honor to coach you. And to see your progress in the whole preparation in those 5 months. And I'm glad that I was part of it. And hopefully we will do something like this in the future as well. And hopefully that experience going to be about sub 3 hour time.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you very much. It was an incredible journey, and yeah, we achieved what we wanted and had a great time and great experiences. So yeah, let's see about that Boston qualifier maybe sometimes in the future
Yeah,
when we get
250,
older. When we get older, yeah.
even 40 to 44, it's still 310, and they want to push it. They want to push it down, so we're not even there.
Oh man.
So you can wait 15 years and still not be there. So you
But,
would better chance or better bet is to just train.
okay. Okay. Well,
Okay, thank you, Tibor,
thanks.
and take care.
Take care. Thanks.